Andrea Jenkyns, as you will see, has a history of calling people out when they overstep the mark, whether this is physically or verbally. She called out Hugh Grant when he left a particularly explicit, expletive-laden tweet after she had given the middle finger to the world when she was appointed by Boris Johnson. She said that she gave that gesture because she was, quote, standing up for herself after receiving, quote, huge amounts of abuse from some of the people who were there over the years. As far as I can see, her tweet in that case was misspelt as well as earnest. But Hugh Grant went on to redeem himself, of course, by getting the Benny Hill music played over Boris Johnson's resignation, a prequel, really, to the music played while Rishi Sunak was announcing the general election. Anyway, she has had a fairly scary experience while campaigning. Now, there are many scary experiences that you can have while campaigning and dropping leaflets through people's doors. If you put your hand too far into the letterbox, there's every possibility it's going to be snatched by an angry dog. In her case, as she was putting leaflets through the door, somehow through the window, she saw a man in the house flashing at her as he came to. I'll quote exactly what she says. The situation is made so much worse by the fact that she had her young 7-year-old child with her, because, quote, her babysitter let her down and I took him out leafleting with me, she told The Telegraph. He literally came to the window, pulled down his trousers, and I was really upset by this. I went back to my manager and I said, do you know something? I've got to say something to him. I thought, this isn't right. My tiger mummy mode kicked in, and that's when I went back. And she returned to the house later that evening. A woman opened the door. She was very apologetic, and then I saw him through the windows, and I said, come on, you coward, come to the door. This is disgusting, doing this in front of a young child. And he said, F off, this is private property. He wouldn't come. He was just mouthing off from the safety of his living room. It's a terrifying ordeal, a disintegration, the denigration of public standards of behaviour that we should expect from people. But of course, Dame Andrea Jenkyns fell short of those standards herself with her finger salute when she entered Downing Street, and she drew the ire and a letter from Dame Alison Peacock, the chief executive of the Chartered College of Teaching, who said she had written to the Department of Education to remind education ministers of the 7 Nolan principles. She said, as teachers, we abide by those principles, and to be part of that process of what is expected behaviour, what is propitious, what is propriety, what is right. And of course, she is absolutely right. Andrea Jenkyns is absolutely right that the man in the window fell short of appropriate behaviour. But it is a little bit of the kettle calling the pot black, is it not? And while I concede she is right to call him out, I think she must remember, and we must remember, her past misdoings. But she has reported him to the police. And I can understand how scary this was for her. But equally, she points out the example being given by a constituent to a small child, but equally, as I say, the example of her giving the middle finger to the media, which is, of course, the photograph by which she is identified in public, is that a good example to a small boy? I think not. I think politicians need to be very careful that they practice what they preach. And I think in trying to get her message across, in trying to get on the front page of the tabloids, Andrea Jenkyns is incautious and indelicate, and there may be a case where one would have to weigh up these various issues. I think if someone is coming to the door, one keeps one's trousers on. I think that's the polite and proper thing to do. But equally, I don't believe in gestures that derive from America. I don't believe in rude gestures really at all. I think those go out of the window, and it's an inappropriate salute. If she'd done a V sign, maybe there would be shades of Thatcher or Winston Churchill that she could hide behind. But I think this is a politician with very little to offer, who is used to clinging to the front pages. And this is a story which I think is relevant and calls out to be noted. And it's a sad story about how our society is degenerated. But I'm afraid she is also part of that story of degeneration.